everyone, welcome to skill-based YouTube channel. In today's lesson, we would like to talk about academic IELTS. As you may know, IELTS has two modules, one of which is academic and the other one is general. In today's lesson, we would like to talk about academic IELTS, which is for academic purposes. Okay, maybe you would wonder what does it stand for? What does IELTS stand for? It stands for International English Language Testing System. And if you want to study abroad, you need to take the academic IELTS. For example, if you want to have a master's degree in an international university, at an international university, or maybe you would like to apply for a PhD, you either need to take the academic IELTS or TOEFL or PTE. So one of your options is academic IELTS, and we would like to go further and give you some precise information about academic IELTS in today's lesson. Okay, IELTS. The first thing that you need to know about IELTS is that IELTS has four skills. The first one is listening, the second one is reading, the third one is writing, and the last one is speaking. You when you want to take the IELTS, you may need to go to your test center that you have registered for IELTS two times. The first time you need to take the speaking test, and the second time is your written test, which concludes listening, reading, and writing. I mean, these three parts come together in one day, and your speaking day comes. You may want to take the speaking before the written day, in the written day, or after the written day. It depends on the timing schedule that your test center provides and your timing. If you want, you can uh, take the speaking, I don't know, maybe 3 days in advance. I did the same. I remember when I wanted to take the IELTS, I took the speaking on Monday, and the next Saturday I took the written test because it frees your mind. It makes you feel more comfortable, in my opinion. You could do the same if you want. Okay, let's go and talk about listening. Listening has four sections, and each section has 10 questions. And you will need to deal with 40 questions altogether. And you will listen to the speaker for around 30 minutes. For example, when you want to start your IELTS, you sit at your excuse me at your you sit at your seat, and you need to first listen to some instructions that is provided by your test center. It would take around 15 minutes for repeating the instruction and let you know all the laws of the exam, and then they start listening, and you need to listen to the speaker for around 30 minutes. 10 minutes at the end of the listening test, 10 minutes is provided for you to transfer your answers to the answer sheet at the end. For example, you have finished your listening, you have finished your section 4, and then you will have 10 minutes to transfer your answers from your booklet to the answer sheet. Each question has 1 mark. You will hear the listening once only. Be careful. You need to be very aware of the speaker and listen very carefully, because you will not hear it twice. Once only for listening each section, okay? And you will hear different accent in listening, such as American, British, Scottish, Irish, Aussie accent, etc., etc. This is really important, because I've heard that so many people think that because it is provided by British Council and IDP, this test, this IELTS, you only hear British accent. It is not correct. You will hear all the accent of English, maybe Indian accent even. So be prepared, practice for different accent. And now we would like to talk about the band score of listening. The maximum number of band score that you could get in IELTS is 9, and you have 40 questions. If you answer 40 questions to the listening, you will get 9. And if you answer 39, you will also get 9. If you answer 27, if you answer correct, if you have 27 correct answer, you will have 6.5. This table is really useful. You may want to save it somewhere because you may want to evaluate yourself while you're testing and things like that. Okay, let's move on to the next skill of IELTS. The next thing is reading and academic reading. One of the things that is different between academic and general IELTS is academic reading and general reading. Academic reading is uh, it has three sections. First and second sections have 30 questions, and the last section has 14 questions. So altogether, two sections of 13 questions and one section of 14 questions. Altogether, you will have 40 questions. Also, you will have each question has 1 mark. So if you answer 40 questions, you will get 14 marks. You will have 60 minutes to answer the questions and transfer your answer to the answer sheet. This is really important, guys, because you will have 60 questions, and within these 60 questions you need to read free reading, and you need to answer 40 questions, and also you need to transfer your answers to the answer sheet within these 60 minutes, and you don't have any extra time in order to transfer your answers to the answer sheet, just like the listening. So this is really important. Be careful and manage your time. And I think the best thing is to prepare yourself at home, practice this timing at home. As I mentioned this, okay, each question has 1 mark, and reading is about academic reading from different journals and contain many advanced academic vocabularies. So I think this is really important for you to start reading some academic articles. Maybe you want to buy some academic journals. I don't know, maybe New York Times, maybe National Geographic. So be prepared for that, because you will face many advanced vocabulary during your academic reading. And in addition, I need to mention this: you don't have to know all the vocabulary within an academic reading in order to be able to answer all the questions. But knowing the vocabulary would help you very much. And this is the band score of your reading, academic reading. As I mentioned earlier, the maximum number, the maximum band score that you could get in IELTS is 9. For example, if you answer 31, if you have 31 correct answers, you will get 7 in academic writing. You may want to save this table as well, because it might be helpful for you when you're practicing at home. Let's move on to academic writing, which many IELTS candidates believe that this part is the hardest part of IELTS, and you need to be very prepared for this section, because it is really important for you if you're looking for a great band score. We'll have two tasks in academic writing. First task mostly is about something like pie charts, bar charts, process tables, etc., that you need to analyze them. You will get some information in your first task, and you need to analyze them, give them some analytical report in your first task. For first task, you only have 20 minutes, and you don't have to spend much more time for your first task, because your first task has only 1/3 of writing band score. Okay, so don't spend more than 20 minutes for that, because altogether you have 60 minutes of for your writing, and 20 minutes of that is for the first task, and 1/3 of the writing band score is for the first task. So move on when your 20 minutes is done, move on to the second task. You need to write at least 150 words for the first task, not less, but more of that is okay. If you write up to 200 words, it would be great. But no less than 150 words, because you would lose mark. For second task, you need to write an essay, and you will have 40 minutes to deal with your second task. And two-thirds of your writing band score is dedicated to your second task. So I really suggest you to first start your second task and then come back to your first task. It would be really helpful because you will have two-thirds of your band score, and then you can move on to the first task, which is less important in comparison with the second task. And you need to write at least 250 words for your second task, no less than these words, because you will lose mark. And it is recommended, yes, I mentioned this. And let's move on to the last skill of IELTS, which might be stressful for you, but it would be fine for you if you practice a lot. It has three parts. It usually takes around 10 to 15 minutes. Uh, and first part is about asking some personal questions about you. Maybe you, your family, your brothers or sisters, your siblings, and your where you live, your neighborhood, your work, your workplace, your colleagues. It is something around you. The first part. The first part. Second part is a cue card. And if you might know, uh, that the cue card is not really that hard. It's a piece of paper that the examiner gives you, and on the piece of paper, there are maybe three or four questions. For example, they say, who is your they for example say, talk about your best friend, who is he or she, how old is he, how you know how you know her, and explain why you really like this person as a friend. Okay, you have 1 minute to write down some notes about the cue card, maybe some keywords, maybe you want to talk about some features of your friend or your best friend, or her name or his name there. And then the examiner gives you 1 to 2 minutes to talk about it. When you start talking about it, examiner only sees you and say, okay, carry on, carry on, carry on. They don't talk much at the second part. And maybe after 1 minute, maybe after 1 minute and a half, the examiner interrupts you. When the examiner interrupts you, don't be nervous. Okay, this is common. They interrupt you because, okay, they want to say, okay, that's enough. They usually in second part only listen to what you're saying. That's all. If you don't get any reaction from the examiner, don't freak out, don't stress out. It is normal. And after finishing the second part, they may ask you one to two questions about, okay, so do you really like your best friend? Is that right? You say, yes, I really like my best friend because of the reasons that I mentioned. Okay, that is it. And the third part is like a discussion. You will ask more abstract question, and usually the topic is about the topic in the third part is somewhat related to the second part. But you need to give more answers. For example, if you have answered your second part, which is a cue card about your best friend, it might be the third part might be about friendship, talking about friendship among I don't know, maybe adolescents, about old elderly and things like that. I talked about this, and if the examiner interrupts you in the third part and asks you new questions while you're talking, don't worry, this is okay. It might be possible that you're answering very good, and the examiner might think that you have memorized some answers. He wants to interrupt you, and he wants to interrupt you in order to change the question, or he might want to challenge you. So don't worry if he interrupts you too much in the first part. It is common, and it doesn't mean that you're not good. Let's move on to other tips of the speaking. In the first part, you need to try to answer question with 2 or 3 sentences, not more, because it is about, for example, They might ask you, do you live in an apartment or a house? Okay, what do you want to say about this? You don't have to talk about one paragraph for this. Two or three sentences. Okay, I live in an apartment. I have my own room. I live in somewhere. Talk about your neighborhood. That's it. If he asks more questions, yes, talk about it more. But don't go many. Don't talk too much in the first part. In the third part, however, try to talk in depth as much as you can because it is really important to uh, show off your English, show off your grammar, show how great lexical resources you know. So in third part, try to talk as much as you can until the time that the examiner interrupts you. Please note that you don't necessarily need to give right and correct information in your answers, but it is important to use correct words and grammars while you're talking. This is really important, guys. Be careful about this. For example, the examiner might ask you some questions that you have no idea about, you don't have any information about that, but you can't answer, okay, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea about this question. This is not correct because you're there to talk. So the information is not important. If you even give wrong information to the examiner, it is not important. However, it is really important to give the wrong information in correct way and use the correct vocabularies and grammars and things like that. I'm not saying that give wrong information. I'm just saying if you're not talking always about the correct information is not important. This is not important. You are measured by the grammar that you're using, by the vocabulary that you're using, and other things that has been written in band descriptor. I mean the wrong information, that if you give the wrong information, you will not lose mark. And as I mentioned it earlier, your band score depends on your knowledge of English, not the information that you're giving. And last thing in speaking is that try to make eye contact with the examiners. So be really confident about this and try it with your, I don't know, English teacher, with your brother, with your, I don't know, parents if their English is good. And you need to practice this. It's all about practice. Practice makes perfect. It's all about practice, and you need to obtain some skills in order to be a successful IELTS candidate. Some general tips about the IELTS. Practice your timing at home, especially for reading and writing part, and double check your answers in the answer sheet in listening and reading part. This is really important, guys, because you're in rush, you're in a hurry, and you don't have much time sometimes, and you may miss miswrite some answers. For example, you write the answers of question one in the blank of question three, and from the third question to 40 question, you will write all the answers wrong. Okay, so double check your answers when you transfer your answers to the answer sheet in listening and reading. This is really important. You won't regret it. I promise. Read your writing at least once. For example, if you have written your second task and you have 5 minutes left, okay, at least spend, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes in order to review your writing, in order to find something to improve your writing. It happens for me, it happens for everyone. Sometimes you have forgotten to write is, are, or some letters. This is really important. You won't regret it, I promise. Try it at home and practice it at home. Another thing would be try not to study every book you see in the market. There are lots of books in the market about IELTS, and I think it makes you confused if you want to read every, books in the market. So I really recommend Cambridge books only because it is provided by Cambridge, and there are real tests. They are really good to evaluate yourself, and I think these are really good. Try go for Cambridge book, especially from number 8 to 14, because they are really close to the test that you're going to sit. And the last thing about academic IELTS is be in time for your exam. So you won't be stressed out if you're in time for the exam, and you will get to know the place, get to know other candidates, maybe settle in the location for a while. It would be helpful, and I really recommend this. I did the same. You I think you need to do the same, because you will get to know other candidates as well, and you will realize that you're not the only one who is stressed out. So you will feel sympathy and you will calm down. These are the some general tips and ideas about academic IELTS. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and in few days, I will also provide a video about general IELTS. You might find that also helpful for yourself. And thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day. Take care. Goodbye.